question is, what happens if you pretend to be unable to blow into the police breathalyser machine? Well, the first thing I'll say is that you should not pretend to be unable to blow into the police breathalyser machine. That's not something I would recommend, and it's not something that I would advise. Now, the first consequence is that you could be charged with the offence of failing to provide a specimen. If it's failing to provide a roadside specimen on the preliminary breath test machine, that will get you penalty points and a fine. If you fail to provide on the evidential machine, that's the machine in the police station, then you could be charged with failing to provide a specimen for analysis, and the penalties for that are broadly similar to the penalties for drink driving, so up to 6 months in prison or an unlimited fine, and a minimum driving ban of 12 months, although in practice that's quite often longer. There is a potential defence of having a reasonable excuse. That's normally a medical reason, although it could be another reason, but you would not be able to use that defence if you've been pretending to be unable to provide, because that would not be considered a reasonable excuse. In those circumstances, you wouldn't be able to get medical evidence to show you were unable to provide, because of course you were pretending. Now, there are a couple of practical consequences of failing to provide a specimen. If you fail to provide at the roadside, then that gives the police the power to arrest you, and the police would almost certainly arrest you and take you to the police station to be tested on the evidential machine. If you fail to provide on the evidential machine, then the police have a number of options. They could charge you with failing to provide, as I mentioned before. The second option is, if they consider that there may be a good reason for you not being able to provide the specimen, then they could change the requirement to providing a sample of blood or urine, in which case you would then be obliged to provide one of those samples. Sometimes during the investigation, they might ask you to see a healthcare professional, so usually a doctor or a nurse, for them to make an assessment of whether you are fit to provide a specimen or not, and that could be used in a case against you, or could be used as a basis for the requirement to provide blood or urine as an alternative to the breath sample. One thing I should say is that you can't ask for a sample of blood or urine. That's up to the police, depending on what's happened in the case. So in summary, don't pretend to be unable to provide a breath sample, because there are significant consequences for doing so.